So today I'm going to have a go at stem cuttings of herbaceous lobelias. And herbaceous lobelias flower in the autumn, flower in the second half of the year, and they come in, kind of rich blues, purples, pinks, and even bright red, as in Queen Victoria. So there's a whole selection of different colours. And some varieties, and this is Pink Elephant, if you look very, very carefully here, you can see that the shoot that's grown on the side of the stem already has roots on it. So there's roots already appearing. And we go a little bit higher up and we can see roots again appearing. So this is a variety called Pink Elephant, and it naturally does this. And other varieties will do this to a greater or lesser degree. And this is a stem of Lobelia Queen Victoria doing the same thing. If you look carefully, you can see there's a little shoot in the axil of the leaf. There's another shoot in the axil of the leaf, and there's another one here and another one here. So there's about 6 on this stem. And then lower down the stem, it's not produced any little shoots in the axils, but maybe we can induce it to do that. So what I'm going to do is cut this up into sections. And each section will have, if you look here, each section will have a leaf at the bottom like that, and a little bud section at the top like that. So each little piece has got a leaf and a bud in the axil and a piece of stem that will support it while it's in the sand. Now I think that leaf is probably too big, so I'm going to take that like that and go there. And here's another one you can see with a little shoot in the axil and a stem section down here. I don't like that, that's a bit untidy for me. But then when you look here, you can see that I can't do 2. So on this particular one, I can only do 1. I can do 2 here. So we'll do 2 here. That's 1 there and 1 there. So that gets me 1 with 2 shoot axils like that. If you look carefully, you can see there's 1 there, and there's 1 in a bud in the axil there. And then here we've got 2 shoots and a very short piece of stem. So what I might do is just do that, and then try and reduce the leaves on the lower one, and then we end up with something that looks pretty much like the one we started with before. So it looks a bit like that, and then we get left with the last one, which really is just like this. So it's just 1 little piece. So we can try and perch that on the sand if we like. Now these root so readily that in general I don't use rooting powder for these. I will just literally poke them into the sand. I use a mixture of sand and perlite to propagate things. So when we look at Pink Elephant, so you can see it's a much bigger plant, bigger cutting. I'm reducing the leaf again. I want to try and avoid any leaves being buried under the sand if I can. So I want all the leaves above the sand, and here's the roots. And then again, I might reduce the top a bit as well like that. And I'm still ending up with a cutting that looks like that. So we've got all these root initials going on here and a little stem. The reason for the stem in this case is to actually hold the thing upright when it's in the cutting frame, because if it's just a little tiny bit, it will just perch and it won't look so good. And then here, I'll do the same, and you can see I've already got a longer piece of stem, and you can see the little root initials coming on the base of there. So when I stick these cuttings, and I will finish this stem here and I'll make them. When I stick these cuttings, I'm going to push them into the sand so that their roots are literally just above the sand. So the base of that bud, which is there with the root initials, is just above the sand. And the same is true with the Queen Victoria. So the base of the bud is just above the sand. The base of the bud is just above the sand. And what that means is this can send out a root and go down to the sand very, very quickly, but it can go down on its own terms. I'm not half burying it. It can go down when it's ready to go down. It will send a root out, and that root will go down to the compost. Now these will root up over winter, and then they can be potted up in the spring. Now we have another one, and again you can see quite nicely there's root initials all over the place here, we'll reduce the leaf a little bit like that, and that's enough to perch it in the sand, so the root initials are just above the sand so they can root their way in. Just to give you a slightly better idea of what I mean, I'm going to put some into a 7 centimetre pot, just to give you the idea. I normally start with it a little bit heat like that, and then we put the cuttings in like that, like this, and like this, and then I will firm it down and give it a little bit of a shake. And then if you look very, very carefully, you can see the root initials are just above the compost. The bud is just above the compost, the bud is just above the compost, and on this one with root initials, the root initials are just above the compost like that. And then we still have a stem section like this which doesn't have any obvious bulbils, but we can still do the same. We can try the same trick, and we can cut it up so it's got 2 nodes plus a leaf, reduce the leaf by half. On here again we'll do the same thing like this, reduce the leaf by half, and again. Okay, so we've then got 4 pieces which may or may not work. If there's enough energy in the stem, enough food stored in this stem, then it will maybe push a bud into the axil before the spring comes, maybe, if we're lucky. Maybe not, but you know, you've just got to try, and if you're trying to increase the numbers of something that's unusual, you need to use every little scrap of material you can use. But so we'll see, but the success rate of these will obviously be lower than the success rates of these ones that already have a bud on. So this method of doing lobelia from stem sections like this, I generally would do in September, so from mid to late September, so that's about now. Here I use a modified sun frame. It's about 10 centimetres or more of sand with perlite mixed into the top layer, and please always remember to wet the perlite first because the dust can be quite dangerous. And then I'm going to stick them in so that the bud that's here is just above sand level. Okay, and because these have little rosettes on all through the winter, they're going to be relatively attractive to slugs and snails. So I will come in here on a regular basis and physically check for slugs and snails and remove them if I find them, but I may also put slug pellets in. The only problem with putting slug pellets in a closed frame like this is that often the material the pellet is made out of can be attacked by fungi. And if we're lucky, the fungi isn't one that also attacks the cuttings, but if we're unlucky, it will be a fungus that can attack the cuttings too. So you need to be quite careful how you put the slug pellets in. Try and get them so they're not actually touching the cuttings is always a good plan. So in we go, like this. And there we are. And then always remember, you need to label it. Always put labels at the front so I know what's what. And often I'll have the date on the label, I'll have the name of the variety on the label. And then when we think we're done and we're happy with what's happening, we will then water. And we're watering just enough to puddle the sand around the top of the stem, so really not much water, just enough to do that. And what that does is it pushes the sand and perlite onto the base of the cutting and makes sure that it can get all the moisture it needs.